Jeb's drinking. We're back for the review.
We're back.
Yeah.
That was dice thrown.
That sucked.
You see how
I hate
happy
this game.
Mickey is?
You know what? All the hype that I gave for this game, I take it all back.
All because I won.
Yeah. Every time. On film, Jeb wins at the last second.
Except for Netrunner.
Hey, that was the highlight of my career. That being said, the last second part is one of the things that we both absolutely love about this game. Because it literally was.
I love it, but it infuriates me.
I know, because you're like, you are on edge. So if you can't tell by our enthusiasm, I think both of us are giving it a big 2 thumbs up.
Mickey would give it 3 thumbs up if he had a 3rd thumb.
There's a lot of things that I really like about it that you probably catched on when we went over the components and all that kind of stuff. But he's just making fun of me because I was so hyped about it.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of extra hype because I hadn't heard anything about it, and I found it, and I bought it, and we played it, and we both liked it. And
we played it multiple times.
Yeah,
2 times.
It's what you just saw us play though were the last 2 characters that we hadn't played.
Right.
So
we made sure that we did it so that we got a feel of all the characters.
Yep, we didn't play 2 that we already knew, so you guys got to kind of see what it was. How a game would have gone just like out of the box, just randomly pick 2 2 characters. There are recommended characters for your first game. To be perfectly honest with you, think I touched on it before. It's nice that they gave recommendations for your first play. I feel like they really, if you've had even a teeny tiny bit of gaming experience, you don't need to do any of it.
Yeah, because honestly, like it says, don't play with any of the cards, and having played with the cards, I feel like that would take a ton away. For like somebody like just learning, it
would have to be very, very basic, or I think you can just jump into this game.
Or if you were teaching kids, then it'd be easier on them to just be like roll die.
And pretty sure that those 2 characters aren't the ones that they recommend either. To start with, I don't remember either. But it definitely is in terms of simplicity, really good that way. Mm-hmm. During gameplay, you saw us. If you watched the gameplay, you saw a few of our questions.
If you didn't watch it, guess who won?
Why do you have to go there? So there's a couple gray areas that we were curious about. I think both of us would agree that coming up with a decision and just going with it until you found out what it was, perfectly acceptable. And most of those decisions were kind of order of play type of thing. Like, does this still happen, or did I stop, or what happens first? I wouldn't exactly call them big deal things. They are certainly examples that would have been nice to be in the rule book, but I don't think it's a detriment to the game.
Right.
And who knows, it could have been one of those things that we just overread or didn't read a specific, sometimes like one word can make the difference of a sentence.
Yeah.
And perhaps we missed that. I would give this 3 thumbs up.
I give it 2 thumbs up. I really like it.
Jeb's only 2 thumbs up. Because
my excitement cannot match this man's excitement for the game.
Well,
I feel if I said 3 thumbs, that would be doing you an injustice.
It wouldn't be. There's a lot of factors which I said during the PAX review that I really liked about it. That like throw it up a little bit with the art, the extra step they took out with the inserts, the extra step they went with the art, all that. But I think really for both of us, and Jeb can interrupt me if he doesn't agree, but the simplicity of the game and how cool it is what makes it. It's like I don't have to set up things for an hour. I've got one-on-one combat that comes right down to the wire. Both of us already played 2 of the characters that they said were the hardest characters to play. Still came right down to the wire, and we didn't even know what we were doing. Yeah. Maybe that changes when you do know what you're doing.
Well, I don't know, because I was playing, I was like, oh, Barbarian, he's going to do lots of damage. And I felt like I was doing tons of damage, but you were doing damage on the defense, and I'm like...
But how does Barbarian play against Thief?
Yeah,
I don't know,
right.
but you played in an earlier game. You played Pyromancer against Thief, and Pyromancer does some damage. We still came down to the wire in that game.
I think it's well balanced in that fact.
It really is.
All 3 games we played have come down to...
And unfortunately, he took the best 2 out of 3. I won the first game, he won the second game, and then as 90% of the time when we're recording, Jeb's like, "Oh, I rolled it. Look, I got all 6." It's like, I don't know how he does that.
Dumb luck.
Yeah, probably. So, other things that...
one thing I was going to say is, you know how most, like, 1 versus 1 games are card games? Like, I like the fact that this isn't exactly like all the other card games.
The cards are an after effect, almost.
Right, it's not like I come with the 60-card deck, you come with the 60-card deck, and we just play. This actually brings, like, the mat with all the different attacks and the dice and the cards. Like, it brings a new perspective on 1 versus 1 battling for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does, and because the attacks are so different, that you really can try to play your character a certain way. I mean, even in this game, Jeb could have gone a different route with, like, if I wouldn't have been quite as low on health, he could have been like, wait a second, let me, like, there was a couple rolls there that he had that were all hearts. He could have been like, you know what? Let's just heal for a couple turns, and then he won't be able to, like, I can take a hit and then start hitting him. If I would have been a little bit higher, I think that was probably his deciding decision. Yeah. He's right here. He can probably confirm that or not.
Yeah, when I rolled it, I was like, well, I can either heal up 8 or Mickey had like 6 life left.
Yeah,
I should just try to
let me go for the hit. Yeah. And then he ended up getting an undefendable and everything, and that like worked out perfect. So yeah, I don't have much more to say other than I think that if you're watching the game, and I don't know how it translates on video, I hope that it translates that you can see the tensity of the game, if that's a word, because if you watch the game and it was like, oh, they're just rolling dice and matching stuff, that's not how it feels when you're playing.
Right.
It really isn't. So not only is the presentation awesome, but the gameplay really is cool. And we haven't even got to try it in a team or a multiplayer type setting, which could be pretty interesting too.
I'd rather do team than multiplayer, just because I feel like multiplayer somebody get picked on.
Probably.
I mean, depending on the people who play. But
I don't know who I'd pick on.
Yeah.
That'd be all right for me.
Yeah, you and Michael playing. Guess who's going to get out first?
Well, no, Michael doesn't like me either. Michael doesn't like anybody. So, I guess to elaborate on what we normally talk about, people that wouldn't like it?
It's definitely not... it's not really a multiplayer game. I mean, it is set up where you can have 2 versus 2 or 4 players, but it's not something that you bring to game night and be like, I'm going to play with 6 people.
Maybe not 6, but we haven't played it with 4.
Right.
I mean, from what we've read on the team thing, sounds like that should work pretty nice.
Yeah. But it's not like most of the large games that...
absolutely.
I don't know how to describe it. Games that multiple people play for a game night or something.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how
I know what you're saying. You're like it doesn't have a board. I'm not this player. Right. You're not this player. You're not this player. Whether it's co-op or versus, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have that feel.
Right.
So if that's what you're looking for, certainly it doesn't have. It actually has more of a feel of a card game that you can add variations for.
Right.
And I think the variations would, probably work. Maybe better than a card game.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to try 2 versus 2 to see how it plays.
The simplicity, which I referenced a couple times in like the Yahtzee mechanic, was great because it doesn't even feel like that either. And one of the reasons for that, if you played Yahtzee as a kid or even as an adult or whatever, if you remember, you only got to do the the things down the list one time. You had to choose, okay, am I gonna score this or not? In this game, you make those same types of decisions, but it's not like the attack goes away. Like, I still have access to that. Still have access to the small straight next turn. Or I still have access to the large straight next turn, even though I already used it. And then the upgrades and things like that. So having that ability and keeping it simple, but having all those options keeps it at a level that's really, really good for players. So I don't know. I think what we're trying to say is it's almost one of those games, unless you're looking at this and you're like, that just doesn't look like something I'm going to have fun. I don't know who to categorize as wouldn't like the game almost. Except for what your point. It's not as much as a sit down around the board type of thing. But if you're looking for a good PvP. One-on-one, or if you've got, PvP with teams or whatever, I think this will certainly satisfy a lot of itches. Other things that we probably touched on, but the simplicity of the cards also was really good, and it was a conscious decision to make the front of the cards without a bunch of art and everything else, so they're very, very easy to read.
Oh, yeah, that's
the wording on most things is pretty self-explanatory. After playing, certainly if you watch the gameplay, we had a few questions. Hopefully the designers will jump in and clarify those things in their intent. We think we got their intent right, but that's not always the case. Just because of the pace of the game, I feel like, they want you to be able to hit hard, and they want you to be able to block sometimes, but they don't want a game going on for an hour either.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things that we were trying to make a decision on would have really prolonged the game, I think.
Yeah, I felt like if I kept with the healing option, then I'd be like, I don't know how well that strategy would have been, because I would have healed up, and then if you knocked me back down, then I'm like, that just bought you an extra turn to maybe...
Yeah, but even on some of the things, like when we were debating on if you could still change dice or not.
Oh, right.
Like, if they would have made it so you could change dice, there would have been a lot of turns that would have been a stalemate, rather than either healing or taking damage.
Yeah.
So, again, if we got that wrong, I don't know. I won't go on much longer. I can't wait till the next Kickstarter on this thing. I think these guys nailed it out of the park.
You got me as a backer for the next one, because I
because I mean, we're assuming that you're going to allow the base game. It's not just going to be the 4, and the next Kickstarter, unless they change their minds, this is also really cool. There's going to be solo play and co-op play.
Solo?
Yeah, so...
Whoa, you just sold me even more.
So,
where did you hear that? On the Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I read. Hopefully it's true, because that just brings in a lot of more people.
It just definitely got me, because now I can play it if I
don't
have
you can just
around.
hey, let me practice with these characters or whatever. How that's going to work, I don't know. But... unless Jeb has anything else to say, I'm going to shut up now, because I'm all in on this game. It was one of the best. It was probably the highlight for me at PAX Unplugged. Not that I didn't see some other stuff that was really awesome. It was just
after getting back from PAX, it was the #1 video that we were going to.
It was. It really was. And there's some other reasons for that, because we did want to be some of the other first people to review the game. I know there's some reviews out there. But it is just starting as of, what are we on, December 2nd?
2nd or 3rd, I don't know.
As of this video, I'm speaking on December 2nd, and it's just starting to ship in the United States. Some of the other countries have theirs because the destination isn't as far from China, or wherever they got this thing printed. I hope our video helps, because I really think people are going to like this game. I said I was going to shut up, but now I can't. So, the other thing that Jeb and I were talking about was tournament play.
Yeah.
They are, the designers are having out in Washington, I think Washington, Portland area, somewhere out west where Jeb and I can't make it. They are having like a backer / game release / whatever kind of party, and they're going to run a tournament. and my mind just started turning on how you could run a tournament with this. And what instantly came to mind to me was like a Hearthstone type of setting, where so you could come to the like you have the box out, right? Maybe you roll off for the first pick, and then whoever wins can't play that character that they won with again. And then, of course, whoever won the first roll gets to pick first next time, and obviously if they ended up winning, they can't choose the one that they already played with. Hence, forcing you to play best 2 out of 3 with different characters. That was just an idea in my head.
I mean, one thought that I had was you just, since there's 6 characters in here, assign each character a number, and then both players roll a die. And whatever number you get, that character you play as.
Oh,
the only problem is if they get the same character, I don't know how... If the creators tested like Pyromancer versus Pyromancer, if that, like any kind of situations like that, because I mean you could easily just have 2 games and each person be a Pyromancer, but
I did read something in the comments about people trying that. I don't know how it turned out. They didn't have any comments on like how it turned out if you did that, which you know that could probably be pretty cool too, just based on what we've seen. I don't see why it wouldn't work, but I do think forcing people to play a different character for best 2 out of 3 is probably a really cool idea.
Because most tournaments that we go to, it's like the person plays the same deck, and they're like, "Oh, I know how to play this deck." Well, I mean, that doesn't mean you have an overall.
And then if that and if you lost with your best person, then you'd still get to play your best person the next round, and that guy has to be better at potentially their not best person to be able to beat you. Where I feel like that demonstrates some skill. I realize that it's a dice game, but come on, there is a little bit of strategy in it, you know, on what you're going to do and how you play your cards and when you play your cards and things like that. So.
I got you. When we played, you know that one turn I sold the card at the main phase 2 and went up to 1, and you were like, Jeb did that for shenanigans. I had nothing in my hand. That was a bluff.
Didn't matter. I didn't have anything either. But I was worried about it, so he did get me there. So it was kind of like, you know what? I actually might have wasted a turn on a crit or an accuracy just because of that. I can't remember at this point. But anyways, for real, I'll shut up this time. I love this game. I think that you should try it if you're not sold on it. I really hope that the video you could tell at how close and you know how fun it was just chucking dice and playing cards, because it was simple.
The one thing that I don't know if they thought of it or if they tested it and didn't like it, but the entire game that we played, I was sitting there and I could only draw 1 card a turn. And I don't know if they ever thought of having a thing like discard a card to draw a card or pay 2 coin or 2 CP to draw a card. If they ever thought of anything like that, because I just kind of felt like locked with what I had. And when you got the draw 2 card,
I feel like I actually had that for an ability, so I figured.
Yeah, that's another reason, because I know you
some
have
of the
that
characters
as well,
have that for an ability, and I mean it was kind of dumb luck on the way your deck shuffled, or you would have seen some of those other cards.
Yeah, so that was just one small thing that, I mean, they probably thought of it, but other than that, I didn't really have any other.
I got nothing either. So
things to remember when playing the game. At one point, I was doing a lot of undefendable damage, and then there was one attack that wasn't undefendable, and you weren't going to roll your defense.
I forgot at that point because so many had been in it. Yeah, so just pay attention. You always get a defense roll unless it says undefendable. Well, not always get a defense roll. If damage is being dealt, you get a defensive roll.
Yeah. Other than that, I think everything's pretty simple to do.
I agree.
I don't have it. I think before we end the video, I know you talked about it in our PAX Unplugged recap, but about the backers and what they did to allow the game
to
be sold. I'll let you talk about that.
Big shout out when I was listening to their pitch on this game at their booth at PAX Unplugged. Like I just said a couple minutes ago, the game's not released in the U.S. yet. They must have ran a little bit behind in manufacturing, And this is really the story that I'm giving right now is really how I feel like Kickstarter was intended to be. So, you know, they make this game. It's looking awesome. They're planning on going to PAX. They run into a manufacturing process. Okay, these guys aren't a huge. They're not Fantasy Flight. They're not a huge company yet. So, if you're familiar with Kickstarter at all, a lot of times backers get really irritated if the games hit retail before they actually are sent to the backers. It happens a lot. And a lot of times the bigger companies are like, we don't care, we're going to sell it. These guys went to the backers. Now, I'm overhearing this, but I have to assume it's true. They went to the backers, they said, do you guys mind if we sell this thing at PAX? We could really use it. You know, we have the games in hand. You know, we're sorry that, you know, the whole distribution process hasn't been completed yet. They're right here. They're right on the edge. Do you mind if we bring what we have and sell, you know, to, you know, continue the hype? Evidently, the majority of the backers said go for it. So that's why they were able to sell and not just demonstrate at PAX, which I think is really cool. If I had been a backer on this, I would have been in the boat of, I like promoting, you know, the smaller places, and I don't want to hinder them. That's the point of Kickstarter, is trying to get these guys, like, if you see something you like, or, you know, there's a budding designer or whatever, that's kind of the point, and you want the product to get out there. Now, when some of the bigger companies do that, yeah, it gets a little irritating when it's like, oh, well, we don't care about you, we're going to sell our stuff, and, you know, when you get yours, you get yours. This is right around the corner if it's not already stopped shipping to people in the U.S. I know that some of the people in other countries have them, just following the campaign a little bit. But I know that if they haven't already started arriving in the U.S., then, you know, it's like this coming week or something. It's like that close.
That's Mickey's subtle way of saying, Jeb, hurry up and edit this video.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that there's already some reviews, but I mean, yeah, I hope you guys like our review, obviously. Yeah. So anyways, that's all I got to say, because I've said that's all I've got to say
like
4 times already.
All right, so if you guys have any questions or comments or want to provoke Mickey to talk more about this game and how much he likes it, just let us know. Leave comments. Send us an email. We have that. Also, subscribe to us and check out our other videos. We've got a growing amount of content.
Yep.
If you tolerate us, then
more PAX games coming soon too.
Yep. So I think that's about it.
Yep.
So. Until next time.
Next time, Jeb can't talk.
Until next time, bye. Boards and booze, booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.